Yo, what's up? So I know when you guys probably hear the term Mercury retrograde, you probably think of delays in transportation, don't start new things, and most importantly, very poor communication. Those are all the cons, those are more the negatives of Mercury retrograde. But in today's video, I want to cover all the positives that I've seen in Mercury retrograde. And before we get started, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And if I create value for you, go ahead and give it a like. And if you got a question, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to answer it. Whew! So let's get started. Number one. What is the first benefit of Mercury retrograde? And I think it's increased creativity. It is absolutely insane. And maybe you've noticed this, and if you haven't, maybe take some time to reflect, because I almost get too creative during Mercury retrograde, which is like an awesome problem to have, because essentially what I'll see is like I start a bunch of different tasks and I'm like, and even like yesterday, I started doing so much and I just hit this like what I call a channel. And I just had so much energy to do creative stuff with, and I got creative and like it just blew me away. And I think what you need to do is just like, number one, see if you get more creative during Mercury retrogrades, and if you do, figure out what that creative muse is. For me, it was music. I got a music bed, found a dope song. Before you know it, I slinged off an edit and I was like, whoa, who created that? How did I do that? That's awesome. So then what I've been doing is just trying to find more music, find more songs, just find stuff to create with that just puts me in a channel and I can create. And then, I'd say the thing to be cautious of here, this is a really good one, is actually like what you start in a Mercury retrograde, I've found to be difficult to finish outside of a retrograde. But then also in like projects that I started in past retrogrades, I will do in this retrograde, if that makes sense. Number two, let's go to number two here is, I would say, aside of increased creativity, I have a deeper connection to my intuition. And this is really cool because in order to connect with it, I have to be more still and more calm and more centered, which can be difficult during a Mercury retrograde. However, the more time that I spend meditating, slower mornings, relaxing, like chilling, I just feel like my intuition is clicking. And instead of having to find solutions and search for things, I feel like it's a time of just like, if I don't know, I take a pause. And when I pause, that answer comes to me, or that thing I do comes to me. And I'm like, we got it, let's go. So also like check in with your intuition and allow yourself to see if you're more in tune or less in tune, because though you shouldn't act on a lot of the stuff that's coming in, if you take time to gather and capture it all and write it all down, then essentially you're going to have a better understanding of what you can do in the moment, right? Because we don't want to move forward, but we just want to essentially like connect with the answers or find the answers or draw up battle plans and gather a lot of information to move forward when Mercury gets out of retrograde. And then the last benefit is it's an opportunity to really go back and look at all the stuff you've done and revise, right? So for instance, like stuff I've done with like Weekender, my brand, byCHRIS, like we made these forward steps forward, and forward movement, forward progress is the word I was looking for. So I've made this forward progress, but I also have noticed some like things that need to be revised. So I'm using this time to stop moving forward, look back, and even having my clients do this and being like, what needs a little bit of tweaking and revising so that when we move forward, it has full steam ahead. And for instance, like what I've been doing in my own revisions is like branding guidelines for Weekender, branding guidelines for byCHRIS, like building like brand templates. So essentially like it's an all-in-one system. So when, for instance, like I'm creating content for either brand, my brand or Weekender, is like, here are the values, here's the mission, here's the tone. If it doesn't fit this, we don't put it out under that, if that makes sense. And it's just been a good time. And I'm doing that with my clients too. It seems to be the trend of the universe right now. It's like, okay, let's see what you've built. How can we make this simpler so that people understand it? And then everything you post is just going to execute, effortlessly, or as effortlessly as possible. Does that make sense? So it's been a really good time to just stop moving forward. Don't try to move forward in a retrograde, but take time to revise stuff that needs micro tuning to move forward, if that makes sense. So during this retrograde, the three things that I would say in order to help you out that is a really beneficial time until April 7th is when it ends, is number one, more creativity. Number two, more in touch with your intuition and finding the answers within. And number three would be taking time to stop forward progress, revise, so that when you do move forward again, you're going to have a ton more efficiency. Woo! Gosh, that was a pretty good video. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's all I have for you today. Peace out until tomorrow and have a good one.